How to close our sale. Someone has said that the moment of truth in the commercial activities of a salesperson is towards the end, at the end of the interview with the client, since it is the moment to close the operation and check if we have convinced the client in such a way that accepted our offer. Welcome, I'm David. Someone said that the closing of the sale is the logical consequence to a good sales interview. And he added, be firm when making the closing of the sale. Whenever I say this, I clearly remember a shocking personal experience I had in the past. At that time, years ago, I needed to buy a new personal computer for my private office. I got the opportunity to poll different participants, experts in a natural and incidental way about which computers were available at that time, because I was working with numerous firms in the information technology industry, in businesses and management training procedures at that time. I questioned about the most reliable hardware in the market with the biggest advantages. Surprisingly, professionals with a strong technical and commercial background were indicating a different brands and type of personal computers, even pointing out with great sincerity brands of their own competition. As a result of giving me solid information, I appeared to be informing myself on what was the market with a very professional vision, despite not attaching any value to the subject. It was interesting to see how professionals from the competition of a leading brand of that time were undoubtedly the best of the market. The truth is that inadvertently on their part, all of them agreed, and in fact without knowing it, they sold me the most advanced personal computer of that brand. Neither short nor lazy, I took advantage of the fact that a friend of mine who was in the IT information technology expertise and who also worked in a company which in turn bought a large number of computers and services from that important concession of the brand, I took advantage of that circumstance and I called him, and I thought it was a golden opportunity for my friend to accompany me and advise me on the purchase. And also, since his company was a good client of that brand, maybe I could receive some financial discount. And so I did. I took advantage of an afternoon I had some free time, since at that time I was very busy with a heavy workload, and with my friend we went to that dealership. The director received us kindly in her magnificent office and called a young in-house expert to give us a demonstration. The demonstration was a real firecracker. That is to say, it was a terrible, horrible demonstration. I could not believe that such an important brand made the terrible mistake of giving us such a terrible product demonstration. But I was a good customer. They didn't have to sell it to me, because other experts from the competing brands had sold it to me from a technological point of view. Therefore, I went over the terrible demonstration that they were giving me. At the end of the demo, my friend and I landed in the manager's office to formalize the operation. I did not want to waste my time arguing about the terrible product demo which they had given me, and I went over it. We talked about other things, and in the end, the moment of the truth arrived, the time of the closing of the operation. She, the director, the manager, looked at me, I looked at her. She looked at me again, I looked at her again. She looked at me, I looked at her, and after a long pause, where I expected her to make a good closing, finally she then opens her mouth and tells me, "So what?" I silently look at her with a poker face. "What?" she repeated. "What?" she insisted. I started to get restless, thinking, "Come on, get the papers. Tell me where to sign and let's let's close the computer operation at once, because in truth is that I need it and I could not waste any time searching in other brands. She again, after a long pause, said, "What?" And now she added, "You have to think about it, right?" I didn't tumble down to the ground in surprise because the chair I was sitting in was really solid and hefty, and I managed to keep my wings in check. But the surprise had just begun because my mouth opened and began to say, to my greatest astonishment, "Yes, yes, I have to think about it." When I said that, my mind told me, "But why do you say that? If you have nothing to think about, you want to buy the computer." And the truth is that I was astonished when I realized that my mouth went one way and my mind the other. When I wanted to find out, I was on the street at the door of that dealership, asking myself that philosophical question, what is a man like me doing on a street like this without my computer I came to buy? The truth is that for a moment I thought that something was wrong in my head and that I should go to the psychiatrist quickly. But then I thought, let's analyze what happened. They give me a terrible demonstration. They have not given me any discount despite being accompanied by my friend, a good customer of them. And above all, when I wait for the operation to close, she goes and tells me that if I have to think about it. And with that, the director was symbolically pushing me to leave her office and go out without my computer. Fortunately, no more than a week went by, and I discovered that an acquaintance of mine from the tennis club where I play regularly was the sales manager of that precisely brand. He gave me his card and directed me to another dealership that owed him some favors and that he would take care of me very well by going in his name. I did so, and to my surprise, the other dealership of the brand gave me a great discount on the purchase. The incompetent director of the first dealership will never know why she lost the sale that in fact she had already made, since she didn't have to sell me because I was definitely going to buy. And the reason why she lost the sale was sold because she breached that statement in which I started this video. She was not firm at the time of closing. Rather, her fear infected me, giving my mind time to process the fact of the poor demonstration and the lack of specific in refusing to give me a discount. All of this caused my mouth to say to my mind, and when questioned what and what and what, I agreed with her that yes, I'll think about it, and I walked away without purchasing anything. Therefore, do not forget to be firm when making the closing of the sale. This is not time for hesitation. On the contrary, our firmness and our best smile, in fact, transmit our client with security. The question now is, when do we begin to close our sale? And the answer is A. Since we think to contact the client, our objective is to close. B. Start with our strategy. We have already discussed that there are three types of closing techniques. 1. Partial closings, which are acceptance and steps to be covered in the development of the sales process. 2. Test close, which serves to know the temperature of the client regarding the purchase and also serves to remove any hidden objection. A test close is take the trade for done, knowing that it is probably not done, but with this we see the customer's reaction and act accordingly. And 3. And the final closing. Now let's get into the 11 main sales closing techniques. 1. Closing by direct question. One of the most effective closing techniques. Ask the client a direct closing question and shut up. The first to speak, lose. Example: so it is okay we do it like this, and pause. 2. Closing by alternative. By offering the client two options or possibilities, we make them forget the third, the option of not buying. It consists of giving two, for me, positive alternatives. Start with the major, the minor, my main objective. The alternative clause can refer to quantity, delivery, condition, size, etc. 3. Closing by conditional acceptance. We have already talked about it in previous videos. If the client expresses an objection, try to isolate it using conditional acceptance. It is a sine qua non condition that as soon as we see the objection, we know that we can overcome it. Then apply conditional acceptance as follows. Example: if it weren't for that problem, you would be willing to, or if what you are telling me we could resolve to your full satisfaction, then you would accept. If the client says yes, you will only have to overcome the objection and lead the client to the final closing. For closing by summary, the strategy of this technique consists of ensuring that at the end of the interview, the client sees the summary trailer of the interview marching on the key aspects of it. For this, there are 3 steps. 1. Summarize the needs. 2. Summarize the benefits. And 3. Obtain the commitment. 5. Time planning clause. Here the strategy will consist of introducing the time factor as a determinant of when the client will want to have our product or service. For this, it is necessary to show the client when the decision should be taken by him in order to be able to start using our product or service on the day that the client considers will be the most suitable. Showing them that there are dates, times that no longer depend on us as sales professionals, and that time is running out if you want to have the product service on the convenient date. 6. Clause of taking it for fact, for granted. The best technique, the one used by good professionals. It goes as follows. The sales interview process has been so clear for the seller, in addition to the face of the client, and all the non-verbal communication clearly reveals that the seller's firmness and with the best smile taking it for granted. It assumes that the agreement has been reached and lead the client to the details of the closing. If the customer has any doubts, the firmness of the seller dissipates them. 7. Closing of little importance. The strategy in this case consists of distracting the customer from the most important point, to buy or not to buy, directing their attention to the less important aspects of our offer, such as size, accessories, delivery conditions, dates, etc. etc. 8. Closing by modification. Often a small modification to the product or service offered is enough to the customer to buy. 9. A special opportunity clause. Special opportunities can be sales, special offers, all prices, units, etc. etc. It is always important to inform the client if there is a special opportunity. 10. Close by joint visit. To keep from losing the sale, to achieve higher goals, and indeed to close the deal, when you have exhausted all your other resources, you may want to enlist the help of other salesperson, your manager, or another qualified person. This method is known as the joint visit clause technique, because 4 eyes see more than 2. In this case, you must fully inform the history and the current situation with the client to the help person, defining what will be the role of each one in the interview and who will do what. 11. Closing by pet. What happens when being interested in a pet for us or for our children in a pet store, seeing several they leave us want to take it, have it for a few days without obligation on our part to return it to the store? What happens is that we keep it forever and buy it. To end this sequence of sale closing techniques, something really important to take into account. Even if we had 100 techniques, it will be useless to try to close a client who does not want to buy, because there is no closing technique that makes a client to buy who does not want to buy. If our closing fails, it was not the fault of the technique, but rather remember, the closing of the sale is the logical consequence of a good sales interview process. Therefore, let's look for the failure in the interview process and not in the closing. If the sales process is really good, really professional, there will be almost no closing, since the client will be the first interested in buying, since she will see in his mind the balance of the sale and how convenient it is to buy. In the next videos, we will alternate topics of interest to us professionals, and always in relation to the human factor and its importance in the business world. And okay, if you are interested in our videos, I suggest you give a like and subscribe to our channels in English and Spanish, as we publish videos every week.